right, welcome. My name is Erich Reed, and I'm the director of the Southwest Harbor Public Library. A few pitches for the library. We continue to be open for 15-minute browsing appointments, computer sessions, and also curbside service. We recently hung a really nice show by Bev Bono on our walls, and in 2 weeks, we will welcome anthropologist Jeff DeVito, who will talk about transformational tourism and cruise ships. Jeff is a professional storyteller who has come highly recommended by the College of Atlantic professor Sean Todd. Next up will be Dwayne and Ruth Braun as they give a talk about Mount Desert Island geology. You can sign up for both events from our website. We're recording tonight's event, and it should be available on our YouTube channel tomorrow. This presentation will be near an hour, and we'll have a question and answer session that follows, but feel free to ask questions throughout, and we will address when we can. The pandemic has challenged all of us, and at the library here, we'd worked 195 years to be the living room to the community. As we abruptly closed our doors a year ago, it had been a relief to be able to bolster our digital offerings. Chris Herpers of cloudLibrary helped us make a successful transition, increasing the volume and quality of our collection tenfold, with the result of our patrons tripling their borrowing. Publishers and libraries have had an uneasy relationship when it comes to ebooks. Instead of owning the books as we do in print, we license the use of it. And we're thankful to Chris Herpers as he's helped us bridge that gap in his role as Bibliotheca, cloudLibrary, National Account Executive, and with his experience with the digital providers Gale and OverDrive. We have over 30 registrants for this event. Please together warmly welcome Chris Herpers.
Thanks, Erich. So, well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this with you. With everybody in the community. I hope this is going to be a fun event. After all, it's about downloading free ebooks and audiobooks right on your device, and hopefully bringing you a ton of reading materials and making your life. Making your life a little different based on that. So really excited about this. I'm grateful for the Southwest Harbor Library for putting this together. And really, yes, the reason we put this webinar together is that COVID has really changed our habits. We've seen this. We serve lots of libraries nationwide. And since the beginning of COVID, we've really seen a huge increase in the number of downloads, ebooks and audiobooks, both amongst all our library members. And so it's been, and of course, for a while, we were all stuck at home. It's getting a little better, but we're all stuck at home, including me. And so this has changed habits in the long run. We're seeing now that the number of downloads is actually not decreasing at all. It's not coming back to pre-COVID levels. So habits have changed. And so we need to take that into account. And the second factor that led us to have this workshop tonight is that, yes, the Southwest Harbor Library decided to step to the plate and to complement, to try to bring more materials to their patrons. Let me explain. That's something we'll go more into detail in a few minutes. But basically, each library in Maine that participates in the Maine InfoNet collective has access to the Maine InfoNet collection, but that's it. So if you are on hold for a copy of Little Fires Everywhere, for example, but there's 30 other patrons in Maine that are on hold for the same book, you might wait for a long time. So so what Erich decided to do was to create a private cloud account, which allows him to complement the Maine InfoNet collection and bring more materials to this community, more reading materials, more ebooks, more audiobooks. So to give you a few numbers, the Maine InfoNet collection has about 20,000 copies altogether, 14,000, about a little over 14,000 being ebooks and 8,000 being audio. And what Southwest Harbor did is that they authorized something called pay-per-use. So in pay-per-use, the library doesn't own the book, but every time every time a book is downloaded, the library pays a small fee. So this means that through this system, we were able to give Southwest Harbor patrons exposure to an additional 52,000 ebooks and 159,000 audiobooks. Actually, I pulled these numbers about a week ago. It's probably more than 160,000 audiobooks now. So, lucky you if you're a patron at Southwest Harbor, because you do have access to a collection of well over 170,000 audiobooks, and that's for ebooks. You are above 60,000. So it's a big collection that you have access to. We'll take a look at the application, of course, but in the application, you will not be able to see what's a main InfoNet book and what's a pay-per-use book, because it doesn't make any sense to show you that distinction. All you need to know is that a book that I want to read? Can I borrow it? Yes or no? And so the distinction stops there. You are able to see all kinds of contents, I would say, on the same footing equally. So what am I going to show today? I'm going to try to show you different ways to access the collection. I'm going to briefly brush on the the web patron, which is kind of the old way of accessing the collection, and then after that we will take a look at the application, how the application works, and give a few tricks on how to search and how to use it. Then after that, I'm going to very quickly also show you something called Comics Plus, which is a database of comics and graphics novels that's Main InfoNet just subscribed to, and it's going to be activated in a few days. So that's very exciting. It's basically all graphic novels, all comics. It's a huge collection of 22,000 titles, which are available on a simultaneous use basis, meaning there's never any holds, and there's no limits in how many titles you can borrow. And there's no wait ever, so you can binge read a series from the beginning to the end. So we'll take a look at that as well, and also at the end, also we will do a Q&A session. So let's get started. I'm going to share my monitor, and let me see, let me share this. Yes. Okay, I'm going to share my monitor, and right now you should be seeing my browser. So the first thing I'm going to want to point out, if you are a regular CloudLibrary user, is a very useful website. It's YourCloudLibrary.com. I would strongly encourage you to take a note of this. So again, YourCloudLibrary.com right here. And this page looks like this. So this is where you would access what we call the web patron, which is the web version of the cloud interface, if you will. But scrolling down a little bit, you would see that there's some information about what devices can be used to access the collection. So of course, there's a web patron, which I'm going to show in a second. But if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can download an application. I mean, you can download the application and use use it on your iPhone or your iPad. If you have Android, same thing. There's an app for the Android, so you can go to the Play Store and download your application there. There's also an application that's available for the Kindle Fire. So you would get more information about this right here. Also, something that you would want to know about if you have a reader other than an iPad or an Android phone. If you have, say, for example, a Nook, or if you have a Kobo. cloudLibrary is not compatible with the Kindle with the black and white Kindle reader. So, but we are compatible with other readers, and for that the instructions are here. I won't go into detail on this, but basically it goes through Adobe Digital Edition, which you would need to have installed on your computer or desktop, and also on your reader. Once you're logged into both versions on your device and on your laptop or on your computer, with your login and your password, you will be able to download and open books in Adobe Digital Editions. That's the way it works. So, and again, all the instructions are here, and this website is called YourCloudLibrary.com. So without further ado, using the web patron, and I'm going to fly over the web patron very quickly because it's not really the way that people use download ebooks now. So I'm just going to start with this and fly over it a little faster, but then we'll dive into the application. So when you're into YourCloudLibrary.com, you would actually select your country. So let's do it. Let's say we're in the United States, and we are in Maine. So we're going to select that states right here, and we're going to find our local library here. There's a long drop-down list, so I'm going to scroll all the way down to the S's for Southwest Harbor. Here it is. And once I've clicked on this, it's going to take me to this specific library's web patron. So from here, I would log in using my my library card number. That being said, if you have an expired card number, your login experience might look more like this. So if you get something that says login failed, please try again, then I would ask you to contact the library so they can renew your library card number so you can definitely access. But if you have a valid library card number, there should not be any problem whatsoever. So if you encounter this message, please get in touch with the library and they will assist. So let's close this.
And Chris,
yes.
We had a question if there could be an update to the cloudLibrary that would be able to sync with a Kindle Paperwhite.
So as of today, we're not, excuse me, let me close this. Yes. Yeah, good question. As of today, cloudLibrary is not compatible with the black and white, the e-ink Kindle, if you will. There's several reasons for that. Number one is it's an old technology and it's on the way out. So we're working a lot at improving the application, and we're investing a lot to improve the application, and it's not exactly in our roadmap for now. Now, that being said, we always have discussions with Amazon, so it's not excluded in the future. But for now, we don't have anything in the plan specifically. There is, if you have a Kindle Fire, there is the application for the Kindle Fire. But for now, we don't have any specific plans to be compatible with Kindle. And also, the thing with the Kindle is that to use it, you would need to log in and use it as an Amazon member, which means that Amazon has control over the data of what you're downloading, and they can see it, and that poses an issue for us. So it's also a bit of as far as we're concerned, it's also a bit of an ethical issue of having a commercial partner have access to the library data of our patrons and what it is that they're reading and so on. So we're a bit iffy on that. I know there's convenience involved in the process, but we're still debating on the ins and outs of going this way, if you will. So I'm sorry if it's not a super straightforward answer, but I think we're still very much debating this internally. So.
And just Chris, while we're still here near the talking about the PC or laptop, we have a question: is it possible to access the Cloud Library using only a PC or laptop?
Yes, that's what we're doing right now. This is what we're doing right now. So if you, again, if you use this website, YourCloudLibrary.com, and you only have a PC or a Mac, yes, you can access. It's what we call the web patron. And that's what I'm demonstrating right now. So right now, to be clear, this is the version that you are accessing if you do not have a mobile device, if you only have a computer. So that's what we're doing right here. So the login is, again, the login is here. And I'm going to just enter my library card number. And login. I'm going to accept the terms of use. Sorry, it seems to be a little slow tonight. I think lots of people are using the service. There we are. Okay, here we are. So, so before we start, a little disclaimer on this. This web patron is is a bit dated. And so we are currently working on a new version of this, which will have lots of new features, especially a better, a more solid search interface here with an advanced search, there's no advanced search here. So you can search by author and by title, but that's pretty much it. So we're going to have more search options in the future, and this web patron is going to be completely revamped. And here it says download the application. So I would not recommend you download the application because we're going to do away with the applications for computers, for a PC or Mac. This is what this is here. The when it says download application, it's the application for the PC or for the Mac. It's not the application for a mobile device. It's different. Well, we're going to do away with those desktop applications, if you will, and only we use the web patron. Right now, you can still download the application, but it's no longer supported if you have an issue with it. So I would not recommend downloading the application. So that's just a disclaimer I wanted to give. And again, this interface is going to be entirely redone. So, but that being said, this is that's your host page that you're seeing when you just logged in. And again, it mixes titles from main InfoNet as well as titles that the Southwest Harbor Library has purchased for their patrons, and pay-per-use titles that are paid for by Southwest Harbor Library as well. So here we are in the featured tab, and those are featured lists or shelves. That's how we call them, which are created by the library. So the library has created a newly purchased shelf. The library has created a National Poetry Month, April 2021 shelf. Staff picks from Southwest Harbor Library. So so all these shelves are created by the library. And brought to you this way. But you can also browse if you'd like. You can browse fiction and nonfiction. So fiction and nonfiction are really adult fiction and adult nonfiction, right? And then you go to teens fiction, teens nonfiction, and so forth. So you, for example, you would select contemporary women. And if you like that, you can actually make it a favorite right here by clicking on that little star here. And if you go to your favorite star here, you should see what I just added, which is contemporary women. So every time you browse something, you browse into some of these categories, you can actually make any of them a favorite, so that when you go into your favorites, you will see all your favorites. So fiction, again, is adult fiction, nonfiction is adult nonfiction, and so forth. So you would position yourself anywhere and start browsing those categories for ebooks and for audiobooks. Going back here, something I wanted to mention as well. If the book appears like this and there's no icon here on the bottom right corner, it's an ebook. If the book appears like this and there is this icon on the bottom right corner, it's an audiobook. So there's ebooks and audiobooks to get put together. My books is going to be what I'm reading right now, or what I've put on holds. I don't have any holds specifically, and my history is here. So the history is what I've borrowed in the past, and you can delete your history, but you cannot delete parts of your history. So you cannot just remove A Time for Mercy, or you can delete everything or nothing. So that's I think that's something we're going to work on the next version of this website. If I click on the book details look like this. I can see a summary. I can see more from this author. If I want to borrow this book, which I'm not going to do this time, I can read it. I can also return it. And here is where you would see, where you would click to download for offline reading. So that's what I was talking about before. If you have a Nook or a Kobo or any kind of reader outside of the black and white Kindle, this is where you would go to download a copy to upload to these devices. Erich, any questions so far? Any other questions? Doing good?
Yeah, just okay. There'll be some for the Q&A session.
Okay, all right, okay. So let's turn this off. I'm not going to open a book here. I will open a book in the in the application. Messages. Here is messages that the library would send. So this is messages that the library, so if there's a visiting author, if there's if the library has purchased a series of books, if there's a special program that concerns you or anything like this, there's this is where the library would post these messages. And here, interesting, if you're looking for in your search, you can actually narrow down to ebooks or audiobooks only, or both. And you can also filter to all titles or things that are available now and only. So that means that if I do this, for example, so if I just do ebooks and available now, and I close this and I go back to browsing, for example, I'm only going to see ebooks available for download now. So this way you avoid anything that you would need to put on hold, and you are only seeing what things that you could borrow right away without any wait. So if I go into my favorites, for example, I put biography and autobiography and favorites, and gardening and biographical. All of those would be available to borrow. So I'm going to click on any of them and see it says borrow.
And Chris, we have a question.
Yes.
About what the nature of the audio file. Are they all MP3s or are they some other?
That's an excellent question. So very simple answer. Most ebooks are EPUBs. A very small minority are still PDFs, but those are disappearing very quickly, like butter under the sun. And all the audios are MP3s, all of them. Something else I wanted to mention, in the filters, you have something called suggestions for library. So the suggestions for the library are items that the library doesn't own, but that you would want to recommend for the library. So if I click this, what it's going to do is going to change here in my in my favorites here. It's only going to show stuff that the library doesn't own, but that I would want to recommend. So here, if I click on one of them, it doesn't say borrow anymore. It doesn't say put on hold anymore. It's going to say suggest to library. And that's something that we'll find as well in the application. Filters, settings. Yes, here in the settings, you would decide if you want to be notified when you, if there's a title that you've placed on hold that's become available. So you could decide, yes, notify me, and then you would enter your email address, or no, please do not notify me. I would recommend that you get notified. This way, you know, because the settings that Southwest Harbor has chosen is that you can borrow a book for 21 days. And then if you have a book that's on hold and that's waiting for you to pick it up, it's going to wait for you for 3 days. And then after that, that book is given to the next person in line. So if you receive a hold, you want to download it as soon as possible. This way you can enjoy it. So I'm going to close this. Filters, settings, about, okay, that's the old version. Okay. I think that's about it for the web patron. Again, this is the version of the application that is being used. If you don't have a mobile device, if you don't have a phone, if you don't have a tablet, if you only have a laptop or a desktop, this is what you want to use to download ebooks and audiobooks using that YourCloudLibrary.com URL. And going from there, entering your state, your country, your state, your library, and then your library card number. Again, this is a bit of a dated version. It's going to be revamped in a matter of a few weeks. So you'll have a quite different and hopefully improved experience in the future. So that was the web patron. Now I'm going to move to the application. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share I'm going to move to the mobile application. So I'm going to show you how all of this looks like from a tablet. So I'm going to use an iPad, and I'm going to use the application for the iPad. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop this for now, and I'm going to share my monitor with you, and I'm going to share my tablet with you if you don't mind. So if you don't mind waiting for a second. I just need to, sorry, I dropped my pen. I am going to share my tablet with you. Okay. Eric, can you confirm that you're seeing, I'm sharing, I can see my tablet on my screen. Can you confirm that you're seeing it right now?
Yes, yep, I've got
Okay,
you.
all right. So if you had an iPad and a bunch of applications, this is what it would look like. And so I would go to the App Store here, and I would search for CloudLibrary by Bibliotheca, and this is what I would download. So I'm not going to do it because I already have it. And by the way, it's the same application in the Play Store, which is the Android version of this. So I'm not going to open it, but this is what it looks like. And now it is right here, and I'm going to open it here. So the first time you open this application, you're going to be asked the same questions that you were asked in the on the computer version, right? So I'm going to be asked to select my language. By the way, I could use English, or there's lots of different languages that I can use, but I'm going to choose English. Here, I'm going to select my country, same as on the web patron. My state, which is Maine in this case, and my library, which is lots of towns in Maine. In Southwest Harbor, right here. And so from here, I'm going to hit next. Very easy. I'm going to accept. Of course, everybody reads all the license agreements from the beginning to the end. I'm no exception to that at all. And I'm going to accept. And in this case, I'm going to enter my library card number exactly like I did it in the web version. So and there we go, here we are. So this is your host page in the application. So important to mention, now that I'm logged in, if I leave the application and come back in, I don't have to re-enter my states, my library card number. It's all remembered and it's all right there. Something that's very important that I want to mention, if you have your phone with you and there's the application and you're logged in, you have your library card with you. When you actually enter the application for the first time, I don't know why it was switched, I was flipped this time, but this is what it looks like. And when you tap here, you actually flip this card and you have your barcode. So if you forget your library card, but you have your phone on you and there's the application with you, you can actually you actually do have your barcode with you, and you can actually use this to borrow print books as well because it's scannable. So just something to I mean, it can be scanned at the main desk. So that's just something I wanted to mention. Something else I want to mention, if you remember, in the computer version, I had the Obama book downloaded, and also I had just borrowed that John Grisham book. Well, now that I'm opening this version, the iPad version, those books are here as well. So they are, and they will be synchronized. If I download them, they will be synchronized page by page. If I read them here, and if I read them on my computer as well. We'll take a look at what the download looks like in a second. So a very simple and easy application to navigate. And again, this is pretty much the way the application would look like on the Android side and on the Kindle Fire side as well. So if I go here into my books, I have what I'm reading right now, which is called Current, which I can read or return. I have my history, which is the same as the history I was showing you in the web version, in the on the computer version. I have my holds, and when I tap here, as we've seen before, I have nothing on hold, so I shouldn't see anything. There you go. But there's something else here, which is saved, and I have nothing saved here, but Erich, how many holes can you have? What's the maximum number of holes that you can have?
You can have 3 holds at a time, and I also have a privacy question for you.
Okay, so let me finish on the holds. Say, for example, you already have 3 holes, but there's a book that you like, you don't want to forget about it, so you're going to save it. So if I do a search, for example, here, and I'm in my featured titles here, and there's The Last Day in French. I want to read this. I can either borrow it because it's available, but let's say it's not available and I need to put a hold on it. Well, I can save it for later. So if I save it here and I X out of this and I go back to my books, it's going to be here in my saved books. So you can say when you have too many books on hold and you've reached your limit, you can still save titles that you can put on hold or borrow later. Erich, what's the question on privacy?
Okay, so there's a question about how long does cloudLibrary retain your reading choices, and how does that relate to clearing the history?
Clearing the history is something that you do on your end. It doesn't have anything to do with the data that we collect. But that being said, when we collect data, it's not associated with a library card number. So it's just we just use it for reporting purposes and for statistical purposes. So for example, when we collect data, we want to know how many people have downloaded the searcher in a certain period of time. So that's what we collect, but we don't collect any kind of personal information on our end. That's all.
And that's the same thing at the library here,
Yeah.
is that we don't have a connection between those books and our borrowers. So as far as staff, we don't have a ready view of that.
Yeah, and so we don't have any of that. Nope, that's yeah.
We also have a question. Can you hold each family's members' cards on the phone?
Correct. Yes, you can have several cards. So if I go here, and if I just tapped on the account, sorry, you're not seeing what I'm doing. I'm sorry. I'm here and I'm thinking everybody knows what I'm doing, but it's not a mouse. It's actually I'm just tapping on places. So I just tapped here on the accounts tab, and so I went here, and so this is my Southwest Harbor card. But if I tapped here, I could see the other cards that I have. If I had more cards in this application, they would all show here, and you can switch from one card to another in the application. So that means that mom can have a library card number, the kids can have their own library card number, they can go from their one account to the other on the same device in the application.
And just another piece there is that many of you have library cards from other libraries. You could also have, you can have a card from another library. So you could put holds on with that as well.
Yeah. So going back here, where was I? I forgot where I was. I was here. So I was showing the history, the holds, the saved. Yeah, so same thing. And here, if I go into search, so it's going to be same thing, favorites, featured. So featured, if you remember, these are the same shelves we saw on the computer version, because those shelves are created by the library. And we have our favorites. And so here's what happens when you use the application for the first time. When you use the application for the first time and you go in the favorites, you're asked to, you're being showed this interface, and you're being asked to choose what types of books are of interest to you. So I've selected adults, fiction and nonfiction, and then I hit next here. And from there, I selected several categories. So anything, contemporary women, drama. So there's I selected a lot of stuff, travel, true crime, come on. And so I hit save here, and that's what's going to show in my favorites. So if you remember, I just chose drama, and there was fantasy, and there was gay and gardening and so on, and health and fitness. And so that's what I chose for my favorites. And it's always going to show one. So when I go into my favorites, it's going to allow me to browse those categories that I have chosen. And if I go into all here, I am going to be able to browse through all categories for everything. So if I tap here on my teen fictions, so instead of going into teens, I could go into adults and then save. Yes, and then I would see all those categories that I've selected to browse, because then I can have access to all categories. So it's pretty straightforward. cards. What happens if I tap on the cards here? Yes, that's a shortcut to the different cards that I can access. And this is where you can add a new card. I don't know if you can, yes. If I wanted to add a new card, this is where I would go, and I would repeat the same procedure and add a library card number. So let's download something. Let's have fun. Oh no, I didn't show the search. So the search is here, right up there. So I would tap here, and from here I can enter an author or a title, but I can also go into the advanced search, which is here. So for example, if I tapped, if I entered Patterson, I would see all the Patterson books. There you go. And by the way, you can see here that in my filters, yeah, there's also a book that I can suggest. So it's not only showing books that you can borrow, it's also showing books that you can suggest. So all my Pattersons will be showing up. If I go back and I click on my advanced search here, I can go by title, I can go by author, I can go by series, and I can also go by category and so on. So I can actually search by category as well. And of course, I can clear everything here. Okay, let's go back to the featured, for example, and no, let's go back to my books. Okay, right here, and okay, so I just borrowed the Promised Land, which is due in 14 days. And Erich, I'm sorry, I kept that book. I will return it after the demo. Let's read it. So you can see that it's spinning, so it's beginning to download. So that book is not downloaded yet on this device. And by the way, I'm not using some super Wi-Fi connection. I just have the same kind of service, Verizon, that everybody does. So it shows you the download speed of something like this when you're at home. So that's pretty fast because it's a long book. So there you go. Okay. It's downloaded and there I am. So I'm going to hit no for this one. And so that's the cover of the book. If I wanted to start flipping the pages, I would swipe to the left. So I'm a little peculiar in the way that I read books, but if you tap in the middle here, you would make that menu appear at the top. Erich, can you see the menu appearing at the top, the A, the bookmark and everything? Is it? Yes, okay, yeah. Perfect. So if I tap on the A here, for example, my choice of reading is night, but the default is really the day reading. So, okay, I choose the night because it's it saves the battery, and it emits less light at night, so it's better for the eyes and stuff. But this would be the default here. So you can choose between in the settings between day and sepia and night. You can change your fonts, and something very important is that we added a dyslexic font this year. So we have Open Dyslexic here, and that's your dyslexic font right here. Going back here, I usually use Helvetica, yes. And something else, going back to the settings. One thing we added this year as well is the scroll mode. So let me turn a few pages before we get to that. Okay. So if I'm in scroll mode here, I am not going to flip the pages anymore. I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the end of a chapter. I don't have to flip pages anymore. So it's a mode that we've added because people are more and more used to reading to that, bottomless scroll mode that you have on Facebook, that you have on YouTube. So that was a request from patrons, and so that's something that we've included this year. So, but if you want to suppress that, you would go into the settings and unclick the scroll mode. Advanced settings that we've included this year as well. You can actually change your margins, the line heights, the word spacing, the auto. I'm not going to do any of this. You can, if you download the application, you can play with this at your leisure. But there's something that's important here. It's the number of columns. You can either go automatic, which is usually 1 column, or 1 or 2. And if you go for 2, if you flip your tablet or your phone, you're going to see 2 columns, like you would for a book. And that may not seem very important in the case of a book like this, but if it's any kind of book for children with illustrations and so on, then you can reproduce the reading experience of a book as much as possible. You have the actual spread that the author wanted you to see with the illustrations. So that's something that's a reading mode that's important as well. Okay, so you can bookmark anything, and so your bookmarks would appear here. So there's different things that have bookmarks. So just bookmark the bet. So going back here, but I could go back into my bookmarks, and I had bookmarked chapter 2, for example. You can also highlight things. You can also copy and highlight with your fingers. So you can see this choice here of copy, lookup, which is lookup. You can look up a word in the dictionary, for example. You can also highlight, you can also annotate. If I highlight, I can highlight it in color, for example, or I can discard this. And if I do this again, and for example, I want to take a note, I can do that in my notes. And so I can annotate any part of the book, interesting passage, whatever, and I can save this. And when I go into my settings and I click on the sandwich here, which shows me either the table of contents, the bookmark, or the highlights, I would see my notes right here in what I've highlighted. So these are tools that you may not want to use if you're reading a book for leisure, but if your children are using this and they're reading a book for school, it's useful for them to be able to annotate, and so that can be a useful feature as well. So let's close this and let's go take a look at an audiobook. Erich, how are we doing for time?
Yeah, we're doing fine.
Doing fine, okay. Let's see if I have, okay, let's filter and let's do available now. Perfect. This way, it's only showing things that, okay, here we go. Okay, The Lying Life of Adults. I could either I could either save it or borrow it. So I'm going to borrow it right now. You can also play a sample, by the way. Oh, something important I'm always forgetting. In the description of a book, if you're having trouble downloading this title or reading it, it's not reading well, it's not opening well, any kind of technical issue that you're having with any title, you can go into the description of a book and you can go here where it says, having trouble with this. And you can click on it and then it's going to be reported and it will be able to help you. So just one thing I wanted to mention, but let's borrow this. And now it's not read anymore, it's going to be listen. So I'm going to tap on listen. No, I'm going to play. There you go. Here it is.
We have a question if the annotation notes can be saved, or do you have to save?
No, they can't. So I think they could be they can be copied and pasted into a document that you may have, but they can't be saved after you've returned the book.
And my pitch to patrons using the cloudLibrary is that 95% of the time that you have trouble with it, there's an issue of you not having an updated library card at your library. So like every year we'll update your phone number, your information, making sure that we have your right contact information. So basically, if you are having issues with that, like you're not being able to link to the account, probably one of your first steps would be is just to check with your library, make sure that we have your up-to-date information.
Thanks, Erich. So here we go. So very interesting. This is a title that I had never downloaded before, and you can see that in just less than a minute, it has downloaded, and it is ready for you to listen to. So I am going to, I'm not sure if you're hearing this.
Gale presents The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante, translated from the Italian by Anne Goldstein, read for you by Marissa Tomei.
Can you hear?
1.
Yes, yeah, we can hear.
Yeah.
1. 2 years before leaving home, my father said to my mother that I was very ugly. The sentence was uttered on...
So let's put it on mute for now. And so your menu for audiobooks would be here. So here, if you tap here, you're going to be able to change the reading speed. So it's set at 1 by default, but you can actually have it read faster than this to you. This is useful if you don't mind having something read to you a little faster than usual, and you want to go to the end of the book faster, because those audiobooks can take a while. Just, well, you see, it says here, it's 10 hours. So if you want to get to the end of the audiobook a little faster, you can actually accelerate it a little bit. Here, if you tap here, what is it? I don't even remember. Yes, it's the sleep timer. So if you start listening, and you can set this at maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If you fall asleep, and the thing keeps playing over and over and over, I mean, it keeps playing on and on and on and on, you don't want to go to the end of the book like that. So so you can actually set a sleep timer that's going to stop the book every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you can, if you're not asleep, you can continue listening to the book. But if you are, then it will stop for you. So something interesting to mention. And this is these are the different tracks that you can listen to, the different audio chapters, if you will. And here are the bookmarks and the notes, because you can also bookmark passages of the book. And you can write your notes here. So that's it for the application. I think that's about it for ebooks and audiobooks. Going to the account part very quickly. Here are the different cards that you may have created on this specific device. The library details. Notifications. So this is where you choose how you want to receive notifications in the application. So for example, here I've got my digital whole pickup. Am I going to get a notification in the app for this? Well, I chose yes here. And when that happens, when I open the app, I'll have a little message icon telling me that I've got something I need to read, and it will tell me that I have a whole to pick up. I can also here choose to receive an email notification. Going back here, cellular data usage. This is where you authorize the device to use data or not. So for streaming audio, yes, I've authorized it, but for downloading it, no. And actually, I should do it. I should do no on everything. What else? Reader ebook settings. Yes, very important. The reader ebook settings. Disable device lock when you're reading. What this means is that if you're reading a book and your device is scheduled to go in lockdown after a certain time, it will kick you out. So it will just turn off. So if you want to avoid that while you're reading, you can actually disable the device lock, and the device will not lock as long as you are in the application and reading. And automatically open borrowed books is here. Analytics data. This is where you would choose to I think that taps into the questions that we've answered before. Can you what do you do with data? Well, we only send anonymous usage stats. So this is where you would agree to do that. If you do not agree to send your statistics to us, you would opt out here. Help and support, tutorials, application tour. It's all here. And that's about it. Let me answer a few questions, and if we have a few more minutes, I will give you a quick tour of Comics Plus that I have. Do we have time for this, Erich?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. So we have a couple questions, and if anyone else wants to send another one or two in, feel free.
Okay.
One question we had was, as far as where they can access the privacy policy, whether they're, if they're only on a desktop or I assume potentially on a cell phone as well.
The privacy policy. I actually don't know. I mean, this is governed by the privacy policy of the library. So because we're serving the library, in the end, we would fall back on the library's policy for that. So there's no privacy policy on the application per se.
Okay. And okay, there's also a question about how to sort of thriftily not buy the pay per use from the library. So if you're looking to borrow and not with that, and I would say one the first place to look would be on our featured newly purchased books. So that would be that top line. And to date those are the ones that we've been purchasing as a result of multiple holds from our patrons, so that we have people waiting for them. So we're trying to get them in your hands as soon as possible. And one of the nice things about the about us sort of licensing them for a year or two is that after a time that when our patrons aren't using them, then the rest of the InfoNet consortium borrows them. So many of the Southwest Harbor patrons borrow books from Scarborough and Wyndham, some of the other libraries that actively purchase. So for these titles here, at first our patrons get first dibs, and then afterwards, then it goes into the common pot. And so
that is actually a great point. We started this collective a few years ago, and it has worked very well. The principle, the way it works is that if you have a title that belongs to a library in a private cloud collection, if this book is not borrowed by one of the library's patrons or not on hold, then it becomes accessible to patrons from other libraries. And this is great because this gives you access in Southwest Harbor to titles from other collections, whether it's Lewiston or Portland or Auburn or anywhere else that those patrons are currently not reading. So it's give and take, and it's really I would say a statewide interlibrary loan system. So and actually those titles add to the numbers I gave you before. So, but because we can never know what's going to be available to borrow or not, we can't include them in the numbers, but they actually show in your application if they're available.
So Chris, so why don't we finish up with the comics or the cloudLibrary? Well, we have a question about the cloudLibrary newsstand and cloudLibrary, if they're going to be one app or not two, and then if you want to touch base on the comics.
Yeah. So so to answer the question about one app, yes, the ultimate goal is to have the newsstand and the ebooks and the audiobooks and the comics in one application. So we are going to release a 2.0 version of this application later this year. And so I don't know if when we release 2.0, we will have the magazines and the ebooks and the audiobooks and everything in the application, but it's definitely on the roadmap. So I can't tell exactly when it's going to happen, but it's really something that we want to implement at some point. Now, the newsstand has not been picked up by the state. So if you belong to a library that has adopted it, then you would see it in your application when everything is put together. But if not, if not, then you just will not see them. But I would think that when everything is, when the application is ready to have multiple formats on it, then the Comics Plus I'm going to show right now will be in the application as well. So let's go. Any other question, Eric?
So when is Comics Plus going to be available? And then also, is it possible to print any part of an ebook, particularly from a PC or laptop, if you want to use it as like a reference work?
No, I don't. No, there's. I don't know that there is any way that it can be printed other than doing what I did before, which was highlighting and copying. So if you remember, I did this, and so I was in the book. And I started highlighting. So I started, you can copy this, and you can copy it to your your desktop, but you can't make a copy of a whole book. I think this is something that makes publishers nervous. So I think that's the reason why that feature is not included. And you had another question.
Okay, yeah, just leading into Comics Plus, when you expect it to be available?
Comics Plus, we are at the end of the Well, we're setting it up. We're at the end of that phase where we're setting it up. So here's Main InfoNet is actually a big collective with lots of different libraries that are all using lots of different library systems. And because, which is basically the software that runs the backbones of the collection, if you will. So because of all these differences, we had to install Comics Plus library by library, and there's 220 libraries in the system. So it's taking a while. We're getting to the end of it. I would think that if not this week, next week, we should be able to see it. But we're almost at the end of the process, and I would think it should be available. It will be announced by Main InfoNet themselves because it's been adopted at the Main InfoNet level.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Okay, I think if you just want to give a quick screenshot of the Comics Plus.
Yep.
And
okay, so let me X out of the application and going back here. So for Comics Plus, you're going to want to go back to the App Store, and you're going to download an app that's called Library Pass. Here it is, Library Pass right here. So this is what you're going to want to download. I'm not going to download it because it's already on my machine. So I'm just going to X out of this, and it's right here, Library Pass. So again, Comics Plus is a collection of 22,000 comics, graphic novels, which are available this time in full simultaneous use. No, there's no weights, there's no holes. You can read a whole series if you want, and you can keep them on your device for as long as you want. It doesn't matter. So it's a little difference. It's full simultaneous use. So here it is. So this is my home page, the default page that I would land upon when I go in, and it's the featured page that they have. I think that featured page is under control of the library. I'm using a demo version for now, but that's what it looks like. But I can filter and search, of course. So in this case, I would go here on the little sandwich thing, and I can choose. I can go into what's popular. I can go into what was just added. I can also go into the filters. And in the filters, I can go by category, I can go by brand, I can go by publishers. In this case, I've chosen to go by category. And if I click, if I hit on done, and I start searching, then I'm going to start seeing categories. So for example, we're pretty strong in manga, there you go. So I did a quick search for manga, so let's wait for it to populate. Here it is. So it's loading. So let's take a look at this one, for example. I have the rating here. It's a teen title. I can read it, I can share it. So I'm going to read it right here. So I can either download it or I can stream it. Let's download. See how long it takes. Okay, it's in my downloads and it's downloading. So again, this is full graphic. So I mean, this is full of graphics, so it takes a little longer to download, but you can see that it's going pretty quick. And I have titles that are downloaded on this application, but I just wanted to show you, how the download process works and how long it takes.
Anything else you want to add as we're finishing up, Chris?
I think that's pretty much it. Let's see, let's go out for now and let's go to my shelf and let's go here, check it out again. So I just wanted to show how a book looks like. So you can see the pages are turning really well. It's pretty quick. And again, if I flip this over, I have a different view mode. So that's it, that's Comics Plus. So 22,000 titles, and you'll be able to download and read them without any kind of weight or any kind of max. It's all available at your fingertips. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for doing this event tonight and for your everyday efforts. And thanks to all of you in our audience. We look forward to seeing you more in person. But in the meantime, and in the future, we're definitely looking to maintain useful remote services. So yeah, thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you, everybody. I thought it was interesting and engaging.